Hey, hey, hey.
Hey,
It's just being the Joneses. Hey, y'all. It's
it's
just
just
being
being
the
the
Joneses.
Joneses.
It's just being the Joneses.
Just being the Joneses. Yeah.
we.
Oh, yeah.
who you, one of the Temptations now?
Just throwing a little flavor in there, that's all.
Oh, boy. We are back with another episode.
Yes, yes.
We are happy to be back to grace y'all ears. Um, Today we talking about. Wait a minute. First of all, we forgot to introduce ourselves to the people. Some people may be first time listeners. I'm
Mm,
April,
I'm boss.
and we just being Jones. We're just being the Joneses. So now that we got the intro out the way, um, welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about mental health um, awareness. It's May.
Yep, Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yep. And so mental health is very, 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 very important.
Mm-hmm.
And being aware of how important mental health is one of the priorities that I think that I'm glad that we making that a priority.
Yes.
Um,
Has to be a priority because it's so important.
yeah, it's so much now, um, like encouragement toward making sure you take care of your like mental health awareness and taking care of your mental health and things like that.
Right.
Um, because not only is that important for your cognitive health and emotional health and all of those things, it's also important for physical health because things can start happening um, physically. You can start having physical breakdowns when you are having mental breakdowns. So it's all important. It's interchangeable, the physical and the mental.
Mm-hmm.
So it go hand in hand. So when did you like? Was it a time when you feel like you started to become more aware of like how important mental health was? Because I know, of course, like I know with me when I was younger, I did not really um I wasn't really intentional about my mental health, my mental health, my mental
Yeah.
health. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't necessarily a
Yeah.
focal point for me.
It was for me through my career resources
So
and
when
in the
you started
military, of course.
in the
Yeah,
okay,
in the military, and they're heavy on making sure you aware of the resources that they provide, even right there on base. You know what I'm saying? You can just make an appointment and go get some help. And there's different avenues that you could take, different resources on base, whether it be the Christian way with like through a chapel like I did, or you know
we're not doing
the mental health awareness counselors on base, and it's free. It was free resources for us to use, and they always promoted that. So
So
it was always pushed. You know what I'm saying? Like mental health awareness was always pushed on us. Not well, I want to say push, but they let us know that hey, it's there because they know that the military life is not so normal in America that that it should be overlooked. They made sure those resources were provided for us.
okay, and do you think that was like the same for all branches? Because I know that I've had some people tell me that like I know you were in Air Force, of course,
Yeah.
but depending on the branch, like they were in a different branch,
Mm-hmm.
and it was almost like it was taboo to talk about mental health at some point.
I can believe
So,
that.
So it was like something happened and they just needed to move on from it and sweep it under the rug, and just kind of like we didn't want to really focus on making sure that that person had, you know, touched their, you know, went through their
The
whatever they needed
process,
to do.
whatever proper process that they
Yeah.
needed based on their stressor,
Right.
their event.
Or yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I can't speak for every branch, of course, because I only can speak on what I've been through, which is the military, and I'm sorry, the Air Force, and yeah, I've heard rumors about other branches not being so big on mental health like that. You pretty much just suck it up and press on because we got a job to do.
And maybe now
And
they
those
are
other
better
branches.
at that, because really the suicide rate for like even for military, one time it was like kind of increasing,
Yeah.
right? And so maybe now, you know, more every branch, maybe that's a thing for now, where hopefully,
Yeah.
where
Hopefully
where
it's much advocated much better.
yeah,
I mean, of course, I haven't been in since 2018, so a lot has changed since then. I'm pretty sure. Um, I would hope that it got better. I know over the years, from the time I came in '98, all the way through, of course, when I retired in 2018, I saw it gradually getting better and being more of a focus instead of just pushed to the side. Like, oh yeah, the mental health counselors over here. Here's the phone number. Boom, that's it. You know what I'm saying? It was more. There was more of a focus on it, and in various meetings, and there were more emails about it, and they brought it up in commanders calls, and it was just brought about like several times throughout the year, like heavily.
yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah,
real good.
yeah,
Because you know, like a lot of people, and I know the military come with its own stresses and its own trauma
oh
and you
yeah,
know stuff like that. But um, it as far as like people who deal with like mental health, even mental health illnesses, different things like that, it's like 1 in 5
hmm
adults, and that's not even include. You know, you have children that have their own, and teens, youth, or whatever,
yeah,
that have, you know, they experience mental illnesses or you know challenges that they're dealing with from different traumas and different things like that,
hmm
um, which is where a lot of course, some mental health challenges, of course, come from like trauma, childhood abuse, neglect,
yeah,
you know, being isolated. Some from racial
hmm
um, experiences, like racism, discrimination,
yeah,
all kinds of stuff like that. So the people are experiencing different things, and it's important that we push the agenda of mental health awareness,
hmm
because life be lifing,
oh yeah. It
okay?
don't stop.
Life be lifing. And so aside from things that's hereditary, you know, things that um, people pick up, or you know they get genetically and different things like that,
Yeah,
there's challenges on other challenges and different things that people experience, like the things that I just mentioned,
hmm
that can cause somebody, or you know, many people to need to reach out for some help with their mental health.
yeah,
So it can be a scary thing too for some people to kind of reach out for help
hmm
for different reasons.
yeah. Big it could be something they're not used to. There could be some embarrassment with it. They'll feel like they're less of a person, less of a man, or whatever.
Yeah, and especially for men,
Yeah,
maybe like I think men, you know,
it's probably
can
harder on men
it.
more.
I see the agenda also being pushed even more for like men, especially you know every man, but especially to our black men,
Yeah,
to because it was it was you know pushed, the whole notion of okay, you're weak,
hmm
or you know you don't need to have a therapist, or
black
you
people
should be
don't do
able to
that.
deal with these things, or
Black
you
men,
know like
black boys don't cry. Oh, you a girl if you crying.
the
You know.
shame pushed on people when it
Yeah,
comes to mental health,
yeah,
them getting help for their mental health, or the shame, the judgment,
yeah.
the
Definitely
you know
judgment.
and all of that, and especially like I said, black men. And then when you think about the church, that might be like a heavy topic, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people may not want to hear that. But the truth of the matter is, in a lot of churches, people were even taught that you don't need therapy, you just need to pray about it.
Pray about it. Go to your
And
pastor.
go to your pastor. And I'm sure a lot of pastors give some great and excellent advice, suggestions. They can pray with you,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things, but they are not mental licensed mental health professionals.
Right.
So there are certain things as a licensed mental health professional that you are going to know and understand, from an aspect that somebody who's not licensed
Mm-hmm.
is not. So I think it's a great thing to have leadership in the church that you can go to and you can get support and you can talk to,
Yeah.
and you can get guidance and you can get spiritual advice and
Prayer.
prayer
Whatever
and
you
all of
may
these
need.
things. But you can do that alongside of also having a mental health therapist or
Yeah.
somebody to help you that is a
A
professional.
true professional. Yes.
Yeah, and pray and all of those things.
Still do that. Yeah.
So I think we have to use discernment when it comes to our mental health as well. Like knowing when it is, being self aware,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing when we need to reach out to a professional to help. And I know some people, like pastors and different stuff like that in the church, that will suggest, hey, go to a professional,
Yes.
but for like back in the day, and and it's kind of lingering on
Yeah.
from
It's still holding
yeah,
on.
still holding on that hey,
But these days and times are different. This new generation is saying, hey, no, mental health is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with praying, but you can't just pray all the time and think that's going to be it. You also have to, God put mental health professionals here for us.
Just the same as doctors.
The same as a surgeon, a general surgeon. If you break your arm, you're not going to your pastor and say, hey, I need my arm broke. Can you pray for this? I mean, you can still seek that, but you got to take it a step further. Go to the professional. You know what I'm saying? There's absolutely nothing wrong with going to your pastor, or just any spiritual leader who you may choose to go to. I've done it before myself in the Air Force.
Yeah, and
When I
then
had
you're gonna have your pastor to pray for you after you done had that doctor to stitch you up, right? So it's like, hey, we're gonna pray
Before
for
and
speedy.
after.
We're gonna go to the doctor and we're gonna get taken care of that way, but we also gonna have a prayer for speedy recovery.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how therapy should work in a line. It that's why I wrote the first book that I wrote, the Grow On, the Spiritual and Mental Wellness Devotional Journal, because it integrates both spirituality. You got that walk with God, you got your relationship with God, you also have that focus on your mental health, and
Right.
it can all go, be
Hand in hand.
integrated. Yes. So, it's important to know that and to understand that. And I get that, a lot of times it's difficult, very, very difficult for people to reach out, especially for the first time, for help.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's also very important to do that. And I mean, because me personally, I've had my own experience. I would say, that one of the most challenging mental health situations that I've had to deal with, are the most, I guess the most, the one that I remember the most that I had to deal with, that left the most impact, I would say, on me, was when it was like a traumatic situation for me, and it was when my dad got sick.
Yeah.
So everything happened at the church.
Yeah.
My dad's a pastor, by the way, for those who don't know. But it happened at the church, like in the middle of like him being sick, and I wrote about this in my book, Set Me Free, in more detail, and in my chapter about fear. Because that incident was very, very traumatic for me, and it did create fear, a fear that lingered, And at the time, I wasn't a mental health professional. at the time I was in my 20s, and I didn't know I didn't focus a whole lot like on mental health like that, or know like um a whole lot about even really being self-aware about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So um I went through that almost really alone in a way, because what started happening was I would not want to go to the church. If I did go to the church, I was always on edge. I was thinking that it was gonna happen again at any time.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to the back where the bathrooms were where, like some of the commotion went on, that after he walked
Yeah.
back there from the pulpit. And that was just a very scary thing to me. And it I didn't know until some years later, like a lot of years later, really, when I went to my first therapist, and I was still dealing with that, but it wasn't as intense. And when I went to my first therapist, that's when I learned that I actually had PTSD from that situation.
Wow.
So I remember I had wrote a poem about it, and I took it to therapy, and I
Yeah.
read it because I had already wrote the poem before I even started going to therapy.
Yeah.
So that poem was some years old. And then I read it, and then at that time I was practicing therapy. And when I read that poem again that I had wrote those years before, I was like, wow, like I actually have the symptoms in this poem. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually reading this poem like, huh.
Yeah.
So now I got enough knowledge to
Dissect it.
see,
What's going on.
what was actually happening to me then that I didn't realize was happening to me then. And I really dealt with that alone, because a lot of people did not know what I was experiencing. I started to me going to church, that particular church was started to be very slim, and I was going somewhere else, like I was avoiding it. And I remember getting a phone call from my parents after they got out of church one service, and getting on me for not being there, whatever. And they had no clue what I was going through, and I didn't even understand totally what I was going through.
Right.
But I know that it was something going on. And
you didn't tell anybody? Or you didn't talk to a friend or another?
I might have mentioned
or?
it as far as like kind of just talking about that night, but not really like in detail about what was really happening with me.
You didn't talk about much about
what was happening, right? How I was really,
like
really impacted by it.
Yeah.
And so, it wasn't until, like I said, years later that I actually looked back at that poem and talked to and was in therapy myself, that I was like, my goodness. Mm-hmm. So sometimes things happen, and maybe we should just go talk to somebody about it just because it happened. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know sometimes. And with trauma, the way trauma happens and the way trauma works is we hold that trauma. So trauma sits. And sometimes trauma could even show up in a type of pain or something you don't even know. You thinking you got an aching pain because you're old, or you got an aching pain because you might have overstretched or something happened. And this ongoing lingering pain that pops up from time to time in your body could be trauma stuck in your body, stuck in that place. So it's how trauma works is like the way it works with the body. Like when I read a book called The Body Keeps the Score. Mm-hmm. And it really breaks that down too and help people. And I recommend that to clients sometimes because it can help them understand how the trauma is working in their bodies. Yeah. That the trauma they experience. So, like, it's wild.
It sounds wild.
It can be wild. Yeah. So, like, a lot of times pushing stuff under the rug is not helping. Mm. And I know you had your own, I'm sure you were saying something about the military and things, experiencing different things in the military and trauma and things like that. Yeah. So,
Well, for me, it was deployments. I went on several deployments, and all of them were, of course, unique in their own way. Some were kind of um, well, I got attacked. The base got attacked on several of my deployments. Two on being Iraq and Afghanistan. So, but Afghanistan being the worst because we got attacked like daily out there, and and I knew it was gonna. I already knew what to expect because people told me that hey, expect to get rockets, flown at the base every day, almost nightly. You know what I'm saying? And sure enough, like the first night I got there, we were getting attacked, and this was like a regular thing, and that wasn't normal. Even though I knew it was coming, when you're there hearing it,
Mhm.
laying in your bed, because they always attack at night.
Mhm.
They couldn't do it in the day. I guess they
They didn't want to
too many
take a
eyes
risk.
on them. You ain't gonna take the
Yeah.
risk, yeah. So and the patrols were heavy. I guess heavier during the day maybe, but of course it's just the sneak attack at night. So um, when you hear the machine guns going off around the base perimeter that's trying to knock down the knock down the rockets, and you're hearing all this stuff going on, you're literally at war, a
Mhm.
modern war, but it's war.
Mhm.
So after a while, there's fear. Like even the first night, the first few nights, maybe even there is fear because you don't know where that rocket's going.
Mhm. Yeah,
A
you
guy
don't know if
told
one
me
gonna slip by
you
or
don't know if
whatever,
one's gonna
get hit, then
you
you
don't know
gonna
where it's
stop
gonna
it.
hit you at all. You know what I'm saying? Like and even okay, so even this guy who I worked with at Eglin Air Force Base, he told me that a rocket landed in the bathroom tent while he was in it.
Hmm.
It missed him, you know what I'm saying? Of course, he didn't get any of that, but I mean, just imagine that.
Yeah.
This rocket's going like, I don't know how fast it's going,
Mhm.
and ain't got nobody's name on it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? They just shooting them. They just like, or what, Taliban's like, whatever, wherever I hit, whoever I hit, I don't care.
Mhm.
Because they were just attacking. But yeah, that was very traumatic, of course, after hearing that. And then after a while, it became so normal. When I heard those sirens go off, it became so normal that it was like a doorbell.
Mm.
And so I knew that wasn't right because we're sitting here, all these traumatic events are happening nightly, to where lives could be at stake, and
You was normalizing
now it
it.
was, it was normalized. Like I say, it was like a doorbell going off. Like one time I was listening to a movie, I had my headphones on, and I kind of heard the sirens going off because it was pretty loud, of course. And then I put my headphone on just to make sure that's what I heard. I was like, huh, yeah, okay. Put my headphone back in and continue watching the movie. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it's just I knew that wasn't normal, of course, because I mean it just
Yeah.
isn't normal. So I talked to somebody about it while I was out there. Other stuff was happening too. I mean, it was a very stressful situation, very stressful environment.
Yeah.
It was war, and there was a lot of high expectations and whatnot. And so I got overwhelmed, and I actually went and talked to somebody out there, the mental health therapist who was deployed out there with us, and he gave me some pretty good advice, saying to keep me going. And he was very friendly, of course, and he was like, "Hey, if you ever need to come back, my door's open."
Mhm.
So and then when I got back to Florida, I went and talked to another therapist at the base as I was out processing,
Mm.
and we had a little session there, and again, it was helpful. It was very helpful. And then I seek therapy again, but on a more continuous basis.
Mhm.
The therapist who you recommended for me
Yeah.
when we got here to Tampa.
Mhm.
So I had several sessions with him, and he gave me that, or he performed that. What was it
E.
EMDR?
Mhm.
EMDR, yeah, and that really helped me out so much because sometimes events will trigger certain things will trigger, what I'm saying, reactions out of me from my PTSD, and
Mhm.
it'll be so random and in peaceful, very peaceful situations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it was, and I didn't know how to deal with it, but EMDR really helped me out
Mhm.
with that.
And so, explain that EDMR and how and
EDMR, sorry,
yeah and
yeah.
how and I'm telling you to explain it because you actually had it done. Right.
Well,
I know the process, what it is, but you actually had it done. So maybe it can help somebody to just kind of give them an idea of exactly what your experience was with it. Like, how it.
okay, so for me, the way he had me do it was if something if I'm approached with a situation or I walk into a room and boom something triggers my PTSD and I feel it physically,
Mm-hmm.
it's happening. Fear, anxiety, and the way he had it's like an exercise, a mental exercise,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, okay, when you see this, just imagine a giant stop sign being placed in front of that whatever it is, object, person, sound, whatever it is, a big stop sign placed in front of that. And so then he said, start counting down from like 20 and imagine a peaceful situation.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him, during the session, he had me go over or tell him my peaceful situation. And it was
Yeah.
me, you, and I parasailing. Because, of
Okay.
course, you remember how peaceful that
Yes.
situation was.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're up in the sky and it's just like
Up in the sky with
silence
your favorite person in the
with
room.
my best friend, with my queen. And, we just up there chilling, parasailing. And it was a very peaceful experience. And I recommend anyone do it if you haven't done it
Yeah.
before. But anyway, so that was my peaceful moment that I lock in. So he was
Mm-hmm.
like, cool, well, remember that always because it'll help you out so much. So he just had me do that, like place a giant stop sign in front of the object, mentally,
Mm.
of course,
Yeah.
and then just think about that peaceful situation,
Did he
whatever your
take you
peaceful situation is.
through your? Did he take you through the um your situation, the things that might have caused the trauma and all that?
He did, but I forgot the specifics of
Yeah.
what he was
Not.
explaining
Yeah.
about it
That's
because I mean that was years ago.
right. But I
Yeah,
mean, just did he take?
he
So
did. He
that's
definitely
something
did.
to
Yeah.
be expected
Yes,
with EMDR.
that was EDMI.
It's EMDR.
Well, all
It's
right.
E.
Well, I had it right
Did
the
I
first
say E?
time.
Did I say ED?
Yeah, you corrected me. You said
It's
EDM.
EMDR.
But yeah, okay, EMDR. All right. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, he of course he broke it down. He was like, yeah, this is why your mind normalized it. You know what I'm saying? And I forgot the situation or I forgot the terminology he used, but he did break it down, and we had several sessions about it. And the EMDR process still works for
Yeah.
me.
And that's good. Which is that, and that's actually something that I like. I'm not certified in EMDR, but I do recommend like some of my clients, if I see the need, if I'm seeing somebody and I see the need,
Yeah.
and I think that might be something helpful for them to actually go see someone that's certified in that, so that they can get um they can see if that works for them.
Mm-hmm. It's
Because
worth a shot.
sometimes when it comes to trauma and stuff like that, that can really help a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so um, yeah, but that's huge though. Like, I think it's great that you were able to say, I need to go see somebody, you
Yeah.
know, and instead of ignoring it and either letting it stay the same or get progressively worse.
Yeah, because if it would have got worse, I mean, there's no telling how it would have affected my life. I mean, I got a family, you and my kids, and of course, y'all are very valuable to me in my life, and I want to do everything I can to maintain my mental state of peace so that we have a peaceful household.
Mm-hmm.
Household,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing happens at work. I don't want to be going off on nobody at work, or I mean, because it happens.
Mm-hmm.
People, I mean, it happens when people don't get that help
Yeah.
to see how to deal with their mental health issue.
Yeah.
It's gonna come out somehow, some way or another.
Some way or another, yeah.
Yeah.
Some way or another, definitely. And that's even weird because a lot of people, some of the top things that people suffer with when it comes to mental health challenges is anxiety, depression, PTSD.
Yeah.
Those are some of the top challenges that people deal with,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be disabling to people.
Mm.
And so sometimes people, like I said, they don't reach out for help, and it can, like I said, it could stay the same or it can get progressively worse.
Yeah.
And it interferes with your life. It
Oh yes.
interferes with your relationships,
Yes.
family relationships, friendships, romantic relationships,
Yeah.
parenting, all different types of things. Just your your well being in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's very, very, very important to get that help. And we all, at some point, the majority of us have faced some type of mental health challenges, right?
Right.
So, whether it be life adjustments, transitions, trauma, mental health challenges is not always specific to a certain diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always okay. I have bipolar depression or schizophrenic or something, but it's not always specific to a certain diagnosis. Sometimes the challenges of life, just transitions and different things that you have to adjust to, and all of that stuff can lead people into therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's um good that they decide to go get that help.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, I know that even as a therapist, I keep my therapist number on speed dial just in case.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's always good to have somebody established that you can go talk to, reach out to if you need to. Um, and then there's resources like the National Crisis Hotline. You can text that 741-741 and get a response, or dial 988. And then if you're looking for a therapist, there's Psychology Today. There's therapyforblackgirls.com.
There's also therapyforblackmen.org. The Veteran Crisis Hotline, text 838-255. That's a text 838-255 for the Veteran Crisis Hotline. Or you can dial 988.
Yep. And if it's a emergency, definitely dial 911.
Yes.
Definitely. So I'm happy about having a mental health awareness month.
Oh yeah.
And I'm happy about the continuous motivation and encouragement and all of that towards being aware that mental health is important.
Yeah. I don't know
And
about
that.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say I don't know about you, and I'm pretty sure you will agree, but I love the culture, the mental health culture that we're in right now, where people are really understanding what boundaries are and enforcing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna disturb my mental health. All these different slogans that I see on T-shirts, social media, and wherever I see it, that people speak it out. Hey, you're not gonna. I care about my peace. My peace comes first, and it's very important. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Despite the fact that some of these therapeutic terms and different things are overused, overworked, and misunderstood. And it's great to see people really taking control
Mm-hmm.
of their mental health.
That's right.
And encouraging other people to take control of their mental health.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to see. Because we come a long way, especially in the black community, when it comes to mental health. A long way.
Because it was never, I know for sure, looking back on my childhood, I sure should have been in some therapy.
Yeah.
Because the stuff we seen, been through,
Yeah.
come on now. Living in the hood, come on. But it was never brought up. It was never a topic of discussion. It was never, maybe someday we'll go get you,
Yeah.
some help.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just, hey, they tell you drink water and go to sleep.
Yeah. Get this ginger ale.
Pray about it.
You better drink that ginger ale.
You need some Robitussin? You gotta take your ass. Yeah,
Yeah. But it's beautiful. I love it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad to see it. And I know it will continue.
Yep.
And even now, like even with kids nowadays, you see, you know, them even being more attentive and more aware of their own mental health and even coping strategies and skills and different stuff like that that they know how to use, because now you have the parents that's going to therapy that's teaching their children, you know,
Everything they're learning.
and some children are going to therapy.
Yes.
So that's a good thing. So
The culture is changing and growing.
it's booming. I mean, yes, we have work to do, but we've come very, very far.
Yep.
So
Got a lot of work to do, but hey, at the state we are right now, I'll take it because it's a good thing.
yeah. So I encourage everybody to definitely let go of that. Even if you're feeling shame, and I'm not gonna even say let go of the shame. Go to therapy and take the shame with you. Go to share therapy. Take the hopelessness with you. Take whatever judgment that you receive, that you're the putting on yourself or you receive from other people. Take that judgment and take it to therapy and work it out in therapy.
Work it out in therapy. Yep.
Because whatever it is, come as you are. Like the church say, come as you are. Take all of that with you. You know, instead of trying to do it alone, trying to see this whatever you're going through alone, trying to see it alone go, you know, partner up with a therapy, build a relationship.
Yeah.
If one therapist is not a good fit, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Find another one until you find the one that's the right fit for you. It's okay. So
it's worth taking that first step to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Just to get there. It could be a big first step, but once you take that first step and walk in that therapist's office or see him or her online, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes a lot easier after that.
Yeah.
Because it's normalized for you.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say to those who have had maybe a bad experience with therapy, try it again with a different person and see. You know, sometimes everybody's just not a good fit, and that's okay too. Right. That doesn't make that therapist a bad therapist, or it don't mean that therapy is not for you. It just means that maybe that therapist is not for you.
That one therapist,
and maybe you may not be the client for that therapist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because it's definitely a relationship that you build with that person. So, definitely, we gave some resources. Hopefully that helps somebody, and thank you guys for joining us, for tuning in and listening to this very important episode of Just Being the Joneses.
Yes.
And we will see y'all next time.
All right.